So, as the door to Shipley's house closes behind you, and you climb back into the safety of your carriage, you swing back round by Morgan's house because he's got a painting he needs to put up and a little work he needs to get done. So after dropping him off, where are you headed? What would you like to do? What are your plans? In other words, over to you.
All right, well, Maddie has plans to go straight home. Considering everything that's happened just today, she has some reading to do.
Okay.
Franco himself is probably just gonna hang on. Doesn't really have big of a plan. He's more concerned about, being involved in all things again. Doesn't quite know what to think about that yet.
Mortimer's stuck between either visiting his sister, checking on Dr. Peterson to see what he made about those body parts and jars that he's given him, or to do some research. But I've got a feeling the research is probably the more important thing at the moment to get as much of that done. So he'll probably return to his shop and he'll see what he can research, I suppose, from his books.
Okay. So Maddie's going to do some reading, Mortimer's going to do some research. Franco, I think I remember from last week you said you wanted to stake out the place. Do you still want to do that, or?
Right. I wanted to stake out the place. That's a thing that I should probably be doing. So I'll jump out the carriage once we have gotten a couple of corners behind us, and then just circle back and try to find a place where I can make myself comfortable and see the entire let's call it estate, even though it isn't.
Yeah, I mean these are sort of streets of terraced houses joined one to the other. Do you want to be trying be up on the rooftops, or are you down on street level, sort of at a cafe or a pub on the corner? Okay, up on the rooftops.
Probably more the rooftops, because that's not normal sideline for people.
You know what?
And so that makes it easier to, stay there for longer periods.
You know what I'm going to ask for here?
Obviously.
If you're going to be up on the rooftops, just for how easy it was for you to get up there, could you give me a climb roll, please? If you can make it up onto the roof without any trouble.
Mine.
So,
I mean, that's the wrong third that I rolled.
So these buildings are quite steep, and there's rather a lack of any kind of stairs leading up to roofs. Like, you'd have to sort of shimmy up a drain pipe. You kind of look at the passage up to a good roof that has a view, and you see that if you push on up here, it's going to be risky, and you risk taking a fall and hurting yourselves if you push on up here. And it is daylight, yes. If you do fall off a roof, you may get spotted. So
that's true.
You want to push on with this, or find another approach?
Yeah, I fear I have to find another approach. So either I'm considering whether it's more important to be there right now, have more time, or whether I should go and get some equipment to get myself up there. But then I'm just gonna go and try to find different places along where I can, switch between them. So I'm not all the time on the same place. Where, I could be noticed just by that guy's still here. Wonder.
Okay, so just kind of
I'll
hang
find
around and
exactly.
maybe yeah. Okay, I'm just going to say give me a stealth roll here. Let's see how that goes.
That is a success. If you need it in hard,
No,
so
no.
that I
A
still have.
success is a success is plenty. Because no one's really looking for you. This is more of you're not drawing any undue attention as you
Sure.
keep an eye on the area, keep an eye on the place, and we'll get back to you in just a moment. First, up to Maddie, who has arrived back at the Esoteric Society. You said you've got some reading you'd like to be doing. Which of your books are you focused on?
I am going to be focusing on monsters and their kind. I am going to set up in the library. I'm going to have the table in front of the fireplace going brightly and warmly. I'm going to open the draperies on all the windows so it's as bright as possible in there since it's the middle of the day. I am going to request some tea, a small pot of tea, not a large pot, a small pot. And I'm going to have an extra large stack of paper or another notebook next to me so that I can take notes as needed. My plan is to read through the book and then attempt to organize the contents of the book alphabetically in my new notebook so that it's much easier to search.
Okay, I'm going to count this as the start of essentially a full study of this book. You're
Yes.
going to be increasing your general knowledge as you make your way methodically through this book, sort of taking note of the strange illustrations and the rather rambling descriptions, and alphabetizing, organizing, bringing it up to date, because this book is, I think it's about 180 years old. Some of the terminology they're using is a little out of date. Some of the writing is not the easiest to read, because this is actually no, it's probably, this one's a little older. This is probably at least 200 years old, and it's handwritten. So this is slow going, but you're making it into a much more usable resource, which will have its own slightly adjusted sanity and mythos stats when you're done with it. This sort of update of monsters and their kind.
Mm-hmm.
As you read through, is there anything in particular you're looking out for, or are you just doing an organizational read here?
I am going to be looking. Was it mentioned anything? There was mention earlier in the day or the previous day of snake people, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I will be looking for that. I will be looking for anything where humans turn into beasts, like werewolves and things similar, because that was also discussed in the previous day. I am going to take special note of the sketches of what those monsters are supposed to look like, and I will attempt to trace over them or do my best to copy what the image looks like for each entry.
Okay. Do you have any points in drawing or draftsmanship? Just it might be under art, or no, I think you've got knitting, but I don't think you've got.
Yeah, art craft knitting. I have a sleight of hand, but nothing specifically for drawing.
Okay. So roll me D100 for the mythos rating of the book, and another D100 for the drawing. The base is 5 for drawing. This is just going to be whether it's, okay, because it's traced, or, a really good quality.
All right, so for the D100 for the book was a 9.
Okay.
And for the drawing, that is a 100.
Oh, no. Wait, hang on.
I did state that I was trying to trace, so I would lay a page on top
Yes.
to attempt to do it.
I'm going to say with a 100 though, that is a
abysmal.
fumble. You're doing a good job of organising the book. Perhaps you're just distracted by finding some really pertinent information, which I'll get back to you with in just a moment. But the quality of the drawings is they're not good. Like, these are hard creatures to draw. They don't necessarily follow sensible body plans, but this is bad tracing. And in fact, in a couple of places, as you're tracing, like, the ink soaks through under the page below, you've got a few dots of ink on the original manuscript.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's not going too well. But as you turn a page, you do see something that catches your eye. And I will get back to you with that in just a moment as we go over to Mortimer and his research.
Well, I'll be looking in the book I have, well, one of the books I have, the one I've actually read through properly. They're Fermi Mysteries, I think it's called.
Ah, yes, The Mysteries of the Worm. Is that notes on the Fermi Mysteries or the actual? I can't remember if you got an actual copy or if it was just...
Oh, I've got two copies. I've got a Latin one and I've translated it.
Yeah, yes.
So
I was
I'll be doing the
confused.
translation.
I was confusing you with Zachary there for a moment, who had an abridged version of something.
And I'll be looking through that for, again, similar to Maddie, any references to serpent people, but I'd probably be looking up any references to a red pyramid. So I think that would be a bit of a strange one. And I don't think I'd be able to find anything about the Black Pharaoh, but if I do, I do.
Okay. Give me a D100 against the mythos rating of this book. Okay, so that... Oh! We're rolling low today. In a good way. In a good way. That is a 7, which I'm pretty sure is quite a bit below the 36 mythos rating of the book. So, you are looking for mentions of the Red Pyramid and the Black Pharaoh, amongst other things.
Yep, and serpent people.
And serpent people. And again, like Maddie, as you turn the page, something catches your eye. And we're back to you in a moment as well. But first, we're going to go back to Franco and his little stakeout, as, you know, we're getting into sort of ticking through early afternoon. Nobody seems to be coming and going from Shipley's house. Door remains shut. No one leaves and no one exits for some time. Time ticks by. And by. And by. And then, as we get to around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the door opens, and a man you have never seen before in your life steps out of it. Not Shipley, and not his mother Bertha. You see instead a man dressed in very workmanlike, sensible clothing. Steps out, looks left and right to check for passing carriages, and heads off away down the street, heading down towards the river.
Did he take a carriage, or is he?
He's just walking.
He's just walking. Okay.
The question is, do you want to follow him?
Yeah, I mean, we were in there, and I didn't see him enter the thing, and he wasn't there when we were there. I mean, there was like a short amount of time that he could have come in right after we left, before I was there, but still I'm gonna just follow and see where this leads.
Okay. I'm going to ask for another stealth check here. This is a stealth check for tailing rather than one for just staking out.
Well then. Oh,
Oof, an extreme success.
I'm invisible.
Okay. Whoever this man is, he doesn't seem to notice you at all as he heads down the road, down towards the river, and begins to head west. Still walking as he heads down, sort of takes the road down along the front of the river next to you, the Thames. You can smell the summer stench from the river rising up as you make your way down past Grosvenor Bridge and along the waterfront towards Vauxhall Bridge. And he's setting a fairly steady pace. Seems to be not so much in a hurry, but he's definitely walking briskly. Like, this isn't a stroll, this is a walk with a purpose. As he heads on and across London. And if you keep on tailing him, he's heading further and further west. He crosses the river at Lambeth Bridge and heads down towards the Docklands, moving from the more well-to-do area of Chelsea into the narrow streets and sort of crowded alleyways south of the river, down in the east end of London. And he's walking with a steady purpose now, keeping his pace up as he heads down deeper into these alleys. I am going to ask you to make me a luck roll here.
Can I switch it?
No, you can't. So the man you're following doesn't seem to notice you. But we've established by now that Franco has come up somewhere in the world. He's a lot better dressed than he used to be.
Oh.
And whereas in the past you would have not stood out at all in this part of London, you would have blended in seamlessly. Now, you look like you've got a little bit more money than the average resident. And you hear a growling voice behind you go, "Hey, you!"
I'm ignoring him. I'll just keep walking.
"Hey, you! Stop right there!"
If I'm reacting to it, I know this. Huh?
He picks up his pace a bit. You hear
I'm just gonna keep walking, assuming that it's meaning somebody different.
"You there, lanky git!"
I'll keep walking until he's coming here.
And as you pick up the pace of it, another fellow steps out in front of you, gives a nod to the man behind, sort of holds out his hand. "Hey, you got a pocket watch?"
Oh, you mean because of the better clothing? I would just make my way out of here. I'm not gonna spend money on a pocket watch.
"Give us your cash then. However what you got, empty your pockets out."
How was our friend called again?
You
My
mean
brother's
Mr. Augustus Green?
Mr. Augustus Green. Okay. I'm gonna look up at the guy and be like, "Who do I have the honor to talking with? Of talking with?"
"None of your business. Let's hand it over.
Sure. Just to
You
need
can
to
go
know.
on your way."
just need to know who to send Augustus after. You know.
Give me an intimidation check. You have a bonus die.
Okay. I mean, there is a bonus die. There's the possibility of a success.
There is indeed. You notice for a moment this rough face falters for a sec. You see the flicker of fear across his eyes.
I'm just gonna start
He kinda
grinning.
glances to the other man and goes, "This one can go. On your way, son.
Yeah, thanks.
Good day to you."
Good day to you too. Better luck next time. And I'll just keep going.
And as you keep going on your way, we're going to go back to Maddie. As you're startled out of your attempt to trace an image, when you see what it is that you're tracing, this tall, serpentine figure, depicted, it's not the best of drawings, but it appears to depict this tall, serpentine figure with many other figures bowed down before it. And the caption reads, "Yig and his worshippers." That's Y-I-G. Yig. And the passage that follows it describes a strange tale. Long before humanity reigned supreme over this world, there was another race. A race that came before who built great buildings, flourishing civilization. And they worshipped many gods, but among them, foremost and greatest of all was Yig, Lord of Serpent, and they were his people. But something went wrong. Their world fell apart, and they fled, hiding themselves deep underground, worshipping in secret. And as this text says, building their power, exerting influence on humans where they could find them, scheming and plotting that one day Yig and his people will return to their full power in this world, and the Serpent people would reign once more.
I'm going to take a separate piece of paper and copy it word for word. To hand to Dr. Davenport when I next see him for specifics on this possibility of what is being happening. And then I'm going to write it again in the notebook so that I have it in the order it needs to be. So I guess I'm copying it twice.
Yeah, so two copies of this text and the imagery that goes with it. There's other drawings showing these snake-like people, and amongst them a mention of them putting on the guises of humans, that they may walk along among them unseen.
Okay. I am going to search for some graphite sticks, whatever, rather than pen, and attempt to use that to trace the images rather than the ink, because I don't want to mar the page any more than I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So as you're making these copies, Mortimer has found some information of his own. And Mortimer, your book is particularly focused on tales from the Arab world, supernatural events there. And if you're looking for mention of the Red Pyramid, you will indeed find it. The Red Pyramid is in Dashur. I might be saying that wrong. In Egypt. Quite a bit way south of Cairo and Giza and all that. There's another group of pyramids, and amongst them is the Red Pyramid. And your book doesn't mention much of the Red Pyramid itself, except that it was built, it says, after the time of the Black Pharaoh Neferka. To stand guardian over his burial. And the book then sort of segues into a little bit of a mention of Neferka himself, who was supposedly the last pharaoh of the third dynasty of Egypt. And the book says that he made a pact with a god and sacrificed to him 1,000 victims for the gift of prophecy and the power to rule and see the future and step through time itself. And the god granted this power to Neferka, and he built a great lightless temple to hold within it a great treasure. And the rites there were so abominable, after his death the temple was destroyed. And after his death, every mention of his reign was expunged from the record. He was buried and sealed away, and the hope that he or those associated with him would never come to trouble the world once more. But many, many years later, there came a queen called Nitocris. And she reinstated the worship of the Black Pharaoh as the avatar of the great god. And it was said by some that her son, whom she named Neferka, was that long-dead pharaoh returned once more.
Just want to check something. Does it seem that the reference to the Black Pharaoh is the actual god? Or
It seems not unclear whether the Black Pharaoh is Neferka or the Black Pharaoh is the god that Neferka made the deal.
That's what I'm trying to
Or
work
whether
out.
they are in some way now one and the same.
Sounds normal. Perfectly normal. I'll probably head towards the London Esoteric Society to combine what I found out with hopefully what Maddie's found out on her side of things. So, yep, I'll make my way that way.
Okay. As you're heading over to the society, Franco has shaken off any trouble with the locals. And you follow the stranger into the streets of Limehouse. He's into the docks and wharves. And you see the man you're following sort of glance behind him as he heads down a set of narrow steps into a basement of one of these buildings. And drifting up from below, you can sense this sweet scent, the mixture of perhaps incense and also the heady scent of opium. Are you going to follow or wait for him outside?
I'm going to give it a quick moment to check the surroundings, but then follow inside.
Okay. As you follow him down the steps into this heady, smoky atmosphere, you can see these couches around the floor. This very sort of Chinese-inspired decoration, and several people sort of lounging or sprawling amidst cushions and couches, pipe in hand, and the smell here is stronger. This sickly opium scent. And I'm going to ask for a constitution roll off you here as the man you're following steps up to what appears to be the proprietor and leans in and exchanges a few words in... Oh my god, that was another fumble. We're not having much luck today. And
No.
Unfortunately, what you're engaged in is a little more risky than a little light tracing. So, do you try and sort of focus on the words that the man you're following is saying? Everything's like... It's really hard to focus, and... Oh, it's very smoky in here.
Oof.
What are you here for again? And...
I mean, this is an opium den, right? Why would I go in something like that?
as you sort of find yourself staggering up the steps to try and get some fresh air and clear your lungs.
Yeah.
Head swimming with the heady smoke of that place. You get in deep breaths of, well, not fresh air. This is the east end of London on a hot summer's day. It's fresher air at the best, but yeah.
Fresh.
You do not witness whatever the man you're following was there for.
Sad.
But as you sort of steady yourself against this brick wall, do you want to wait around for him to leave or not?
I'm just gonna stick around outside and get fresh air, and if he comes out in that time, that's good. And if not, I'm thinking I might need to step down from here.
He's only in there for around 5 minutes or so before he comes back up the steps, glancing left and right, and begins to make his way back across London, heading west towards Chelsea once more.
Okay.
And
Note
yeah.
the address of the opium den. And yeah, go back to the society then. I mean, he's returning to.
Yeah, if you follow him, I mean, Chelsea's not that much further than the society, so if you follow him, you realise he's heading back towards Shipley's house. And it's only a bit of a... 15 minutes? I'm trying to judge the scale on this. I'm trying to remember how long it takes to walk up Piccadilly. About 15 minutes back round the corner to the London Esoteric. But yeah, he heads back into Shipley's house.
Good. Yeah, I'll return to the society then.
Okay. By now it's probably, we're talking about 5 in the afternoon as Franco returns to the society, and for convenience's sake, shall we say Mortimer arrives around the same time too. James takes your coats. Well, it's August, you've probably not got that much in the way of coats. But he will show you through to Maddie and the library.
So, that was weird. Still must have felt some of that stuff in my brain. I was, looking at the house, and there was a person coming out that I didn't see coming in. So I followed them. And they went into a CT opium den. But I tried to follow in, but I really couldn't get my thoughts straight in there. There was so much stuff in the air. And then when 5 minutes later, the person came back out and went back into their to the ship place. It was really weird, and obviously, and I'm not looking like a proper poor person anymore, as evidenced by them trying to rob me. Feels odd.
Bit different from what you're used to.
Yeah. Normally I'm just invisible to them, and now it was like a complete different person. Something.
Might be worth putting on your old clothes when you go to that part of the city next time.
True. I was just not thinking them that much better, but I guess you see that.
To find some strange information, I was looking up what I could find about the Red Pyramid, Black Pharaoh, and Serpent people. I couldn't find anything myself about the Serpent people, but the book I've got specialises in the Arab world, and I was able to find out a fair bit of information about the Red Pyramid. There's some mention of a pharaoh, I believe he's the last of the third dynasty, called Neferenka. And apparently he did some sort of deal with a god, sacrificed 1,000 people, and he wanted something like the powers of prophecy or to see the future, that sort of thing. I think there's probably a bit more to it than that, but he did some sort of pact, and I believe part of this pact was involved with the building of the Red Pyramid. I think it may have been built over his remains, and it seems Nito Chris, I think, might be familiar, regards a necklace that we've recently encountered, I suppose, or heard of, and I think she may have taken up the worship of the Black Pharaoh. And there's a lot of strange overlapping matters here. It's not clear whether her son was named after. Keeper, was her son named after?
Neferenka, her son was named.
So, yeah, two different people he's just called the same.
Yes.
That's a coincidence. But yes, she named her son the same name as this pharaoh, but it's not clear whether he was somehow the pharaoh reborn. Perhaps his spirit had moved into his body. And there's some mention of worship of the Black Pharaoh again. But, and I'll relay anything I've forgotten, basically, from the notes I made from earlier on.
That's... Sorry, I've been focusing on this, and she's gesturing at the loose papers, the scratched out drawings, because they were terrible. But she pulls out that loose piece of paper of Yig that she had copied and hands it over to one of the two. I found this in my book. Yig seems to be a god of some sort of serpentine peoples. And well, I copied it word for word here, so if you want to have a look at it, and she hands it over to whomever will grab it.
Okay.
I'll have a look through that at the same time over. I was going to say over Franco's shoulder, but I'm not going to be able to see over Franco's shoulder.
Oh, I'm just gonna notice and shuffle aside.
There's no mention of it being called the Great Serpent anywhere in his notes, is there?
Nothing that I've seen. Correct, Keeper?
Yig is the Lord of Serpent.
Lord of Serpents, sorry. So, not the Great Serpent, but he is a Lord of Serpents. The Lord of Serpents. And, well, they... Basically, after a while, they had to go into hiding. And they take on human form. They are planning on gaining power to come back and rule.
Does that picture of Yig look like the Dark Lord thing in the painting that we looked at? The Dark Lord rises.
The Yig image is definitely more scaly and serpentine. It's probably
It's different. That's all I need to see.
It's different. I'll stick something in the Discord of approximately what you're looking at here in terms of the Yig picture. Yeah.
Okay.
But whilst I just dig that up, in the meantime, big snake.
The reason I was asking about the Great Serpent, my book seemed to have a spell to contact something called the Great Serpent. I don't think that's a good idea, but I was just curious whether it is the same thing.
I mean, you just call and ask how stuff works, but don't think that's a thing that's smart to do.
I don't think it's probably an idea for me just to contact it and ask it if its name is Yig.
I would not try to contact it.
Not planning to ever cast that spell.
But I mean, this is the Lord of Serpents. If it is not that individual spell, it is probably linked, as it is a serpent.
I mean, maybe there's multiple kings and queens of serpent people. I mean, we had multiples of those.
And when it mentioned about them taking human-like form, does it seem like an illusion or a disguise they put on? Because the person we met, I'm not sure, it didn't look like a disguise.
It says they put on human guises so as to walk among them.
It could be either, it doesn't specify. It seemed quite convincing. So, what shall we do?
Well, I can I can speak with my associates at the museum and see if there is any information there, as the museum is going to have a lot more true relics and information than the art exhibit we were at the previous night.
There seemed to be a little bit of information about I believe the temple may have been destroyed. The Red Pharaoh's temple, I think they tried to erase it from history. I believe I'd read a pamphlet of some fashion about Nitocris, and it seemed the person I spoke with at the museum thought it was complete nonsense that she ever existed, that she was just mythology. But,
well, mythology is better than nothing. And
there may be
is it possible that there is Well, it's possible, since that's from Egypt, gesturing to Dr. Davenport's notes, it's possible that it's related to one of the Egyptian gods or various deities that they have.
It's very possible. Would the museum still be open at this time of day?
Probably closing to the public soon, but it depends if you're visiting someone there.
Mm-hmm.
You might be able to call up on them in the evening.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know that Dr. Morris and Mrs. Morris usually are there late working. We can speak with them if you'd like, or we can arrange for some time tomorrow.
No time like the present. We could see if we could catch them at the museum, and if we can't, then we can make arrangements to speak to them tomorrow. I have a friend at the museum, but they're not, well, specialists in Egypt, so they'll be worth trying.
Mm-hmm.
Find out as much as we can before we go to sleep.
I got to write my article anyway.
Will you be staying here then?
Sure. Haven't been here for quite a while. So, yeah.
I start cleaning up and packing up the book and my notes. And I actually take it all up into my bedroom and lock it in my safe.
Okay, so your notes are up in your personal safe. Okay. And is it you and Mortimer taking a trip over to the British Museum? Is that correct?
I believe so.
And Franco is staying behind to write up his article.
Exactly.
Okay. So, yeah, Maddie and Mortimer, you head over towards the grand edifice of the British Museum, this big neoclassical building, literally just round the corner from where the society's set up. You're very handy for institutes of culture in London. And you make your way up past the public galleries towards the offices of Dr. J. Morris.
Mm-hmm.
Getting my names correct. And also the workplace of his wife Adelaide, who is a fellow researcher and Egyptologist. Mm-hmm. And they look, well, as you head on up, Jay looks slightly surprised to see you here. Goes, "Hey, Maddie, lovely to see you again, especially after only last night. Wow." And Adelaide gives a nod. Yes, lovely to see you again.
This is Dr. Mortimer Davenport, and he is actually doing some research. I guess
we met. You were there last night? I swear I've seen you.
I was attending an art exhibit. Had some very unusual paintings, or at least one very unusual painting. Yes, I think it's the same one.
Let's not talk about that. But history, on the other hand, very happy to talk. Always happy to talk about. What was it you wanted to know?
I think, in particular, I was interested in the Third Dynasty.
Oh, Third Dynasty. All right, we're going back.
There was a strange name. Well, I'll say a strange name. Nefrenkar.
Oh, that's
I'm not sure
one.
whether it's one of their myths rather than one of their historical records.
Entirely a myth, I'm afraid. Any of that nonsense, cults, Black Pharaoh, it's... People... History's exciting enough. I don't know why people have to try and flesh it out with these sorts of unnecessary horror stories.
But back then, it wasn't history for the people living that time, so they created their own myths at that time.
But what you've got to remember is the time scale we're talking about. Is a lot of the stories we have here about the pharaohs and things. How is it I put it to my students? Okay. We are closer to the time of Alexander and Ptolemy and Cleopatra than they were to the time of those pharaohs we're talking about here. We're talking so far distant. Rome was barely a thought in Remus's eye, or however that myth goes. But this is truly ancient. There's so little we know. And all we know mostly is what they were buried with and what carven remains they left behind. But
it is rather strange.
People like a good story. And, horror stories about dark temples and sacrifice. Capture...
And curses, of course. You got the Penny Dreadfuls.
You only have to read a Penny Dreadful. They capture people's imaginations now, and they would have captured the imaginations of the ancients back, 2,000, 3,000 years ago. People love a good story.
Do you know any of these stories?
I mean...
What was the one that you mentioned? The Black Pharaoh? Do you know the story of that one?
I mean... Neferenka, the Black Pharaoh...
Nitocris?
Nitocris is, we're talking 6th dynasty, we're talking quite a long time after her stuff is. Again, she's debated... There's more historical evidence for her. There's more backing that she was actually real.
Well, what about her then? What information would you have about her?
Well, again, I said there's more evidence that she exists, not necessarily that most of the stories about her are true. Supposedly, they call her the Ghoul Queen. The idea that she had, hosts of half-human beings that were there worshipping some dark god and the Sphinx, this dark creature. Obviously, someone has seen the Sphinx and been back, before it was buried and then unearthed again, and inspired by the idea that there was some great, vast monster.
There are always stories of great, vast monsters, but, well, in any case, what was, you said she was the Ghoul Queen, and she followed some dark god.
Yes, that's the story. That's a similar story to Neferenka, the idea of there being some dark entity, some great power. There's only... They had some strange gods and strange beliefs in all. So I'm not sure which of the many Egyptian gods this could be in reference to. Perhaps this is some obscure cult of, we were talking Anubis, or Thoth, or one of the Egyptian gods.
But they had all sorts of gods. What about any of the serpent ones? Oftentimes, serpents are thought to be dark, and
I don't... Serpent.
There's Apep, for one.
Yeah. But, we know so little about many of their... But usually when we're seeing a god here, we're talking a drawing on a wall, and we assume it to be one of their gods, but maybe it's merely symbolic of something else. There's ones that we've got Sobek, we've got crocodile gods, you've got jackal-headed gods. It seems to be in some ways that if it's an animal and it was around in Egypt, someone has, devised a god out of it. And again, you have to remember the period of time we're talking about. Gods, so belief in their gods came and went, and ebbed and flowed. It's not really exactly my expertise.
What about
Certainly
Yig?
fascinating.
Yig.
Does that
Yig.
sound familiar?
Um,
I read it in passing once a long time ago, and I've never followed up with it.
Yig. It's not ringing a bell, darling. Yig? Mean anything to you? No. No, it doesn't. It doesn't sound Egyptian. Exactly. It's definitely not one I've heard of.
Perhaps it is another faith from a neighbouring country that somehow came over and overlapped, perhaps. But I was just curious about something. The little Chris, you mentioned there seems to be a lot more information about her than Nephren Carr. But how did her reign end? Is there much information on that?
Oh, they say that she was overthrown and entombed alive, although her burial site is unknown.
Sounds like a Penny Dreadful straight away.
Look, this is all myths of the pharaohs and, dark magic.
Many people would
It
believe that.
It sells magazines, but it's not history.
Well, have you any books on the 3rd and 6th dynasties?
Oh, definitely. Let's see. This one should cover most of the 3rd dynasty stuff. 6th dynasty, I guess a lot less is known, but that's probably the best starting point. And she hands you over sort of 2 fairly solid-looking books. As I said, we're still finding out new stuff every year, every month on this. Like, so much is still coming out of the digs, and so much yet to be known. We keep overturning what we thought to be true all the time.
Has anybody come back from any of the digs recently?
Just the
Phillips had
area.
been out there not long ago.
Dasser or something?
Pardon?
Dasser, I think, or was
The
that
Shah.
the area? The Shah.
I
I think that's the area believed to be with that Nephren Carr story.
was that? Where was Phillips digging? Can anyone? I thought Phillips was further up north. Yeah, got to. Have you ever met Dr. Harold Phillips? No,
Dr. Hal Phillips?
Howard Phillips. Howard Phillips. That's the word I'm looking for. Howard.
Sorry, I know George Phillips, but he's a different line of history entirely.
George's cousin Howard.
Ah, okay.
I wouldn't go as far as to call him a historian. He's good at finding things and sending to other people for interpretation. He tends to come up with wild, unsubstantiated theories. But as I said, good at actual the archaeology digging side of things. But I think he's done some digging down in Dashur. There's a few pyramids down there.
Is he going to be here in the museum at all in the next couple of days, or is there a residence we can call upon him at?
I think he's staying down in Savoy. The Savoy. I could give you. If you ring this number, you should be able to get in touch with him there. Or we're having him round to dinner in a couple of nights' time. You're welcome to join. There's always room for a few more.
That sounds lovely. Actually, if we're unable to locate him or speak with him before then, I would greatly appreciate the invite.
Oh, excellent. Well, it would always be a pleasure to have you there. It was good to talk to you, Maddie, and delighted to meet you, Dr. Davenport.
Pleasure to meet you. It's been rather interesting.
Well, probably getting home for dinner.
Sorry to have kept
waiting.
up too much of your time. We shall depart now so that you can do what you need to do to finish up for the evening. Thank you very much for your help.
No worries. I said, pleasure to see you.
Pleasure. I guess at that point we'll depart and head back to the manor.
Okay. As you head back to Grosvenor Square and the Society, I think this is probably as good a time for any to go to break. And we'll see you in 10 minutes' time. See you soon. Thank you very much for reminding me. Maddie,
Yes.
for all this study and delving into the delightful book of monsters and their kindy, what is your Cthulhu mythos currently standing at?
22.
Oh my god. Okay. So, for all this study, and this is counting sort of any work done previously on this book and any work sort of going forward in the next month or so, you only gain 2 points Cthulhu Mythos because your Cthulhu Mythos already far exceeds that of the actual book. Like, you know a lot. Your eyes have been opened. What did you say your current sanity was?
12.
I'm really sorry, Maddie. Could you roll me a 1d8, please? And could we all put in a collective prayer to all the dark gods here for a really, really low roll here?
That's a 5.
Oof! Oof. Oof, that's not good. Okay. Can you make me... Actually, I'm not going to ask you to do that just yet. I'm going to hold that in the bank.
Okay.
Okay, so you head back from the museum. By now, we're talking about 7 o'clock in the evening. It's still light out. It's, evening's coming. And did either of you have anything else you wanted to do that evening, other than some lovely light reading?
Nothing else for Maddie tonight. She's going to have supper. She's tempted, but it's too close to bed time to retire for the evening. So she's just going to eat supper, maybe do some knitting. She'll do some knitting. We'll see what she knits. She doesn't know yet.
Okay, and Mortimer, did you have any evening plans?
No, probably just some light reading, I think. But were we given those books to look at regards the Egypt?
Yes, you've got a couple of tomes on Egypt.
I'd probably spend a little bit of time looking through those, but not in a great deal of depth because of how late it is. But after some light reading, trying to perhaps find the correct areas we want to look at in the books rather than actually dig out the information, just try to understand the layout of the books and where to look. Probably retire as well.
Okay.
Is Franco about, or has he retired?
Franco will just retire early and, try to be rational and not go out to try to get that back into that opium den. So that's probably something that's best done in a group in case he's getting intoxicated again. So he's just going to bed early.
Okay. A pleasant evening and an early night. Well, as the two of you prepare for bed, Maddie, I assume are the fires going?
Of course.
And you're sort of knitting away when you hear a knock at the door.
James, who is it?
There's no response for James. Maybe he's popped out to go to the shop.
I am going to look out one of the windows that looks at the front of the house.
You see, by now it's started to get dark, and there is a figure standing on the front step. Wearing a greatcoat, like a black greatcoat. They've got a brimmed hat pulled down over their face. Hello?
It's
Is anyone in?
Are there any canes left at the front door?
Yeah?
I am going to have one hidden behind my skirts, and I will open the door. Hello?
Oh, thank goodness. This is the London Esoteric Society, right?
Yes. Can I help you?
Yeah, this is going to sound crazy. I don't even really know where to start on this. It's going to sound just quite insane. But I think there is a monster living in my basement. I know. Look, nobody else believes me. I've had people down there to check. No one can see it. But I know it's there. I know it is. I'm not mad. I promise. I am not mad. Oh God, you think I'm mad?
What was your name?
Benjamin.
Benjamin
Daly. Benjamin Daly.
Benjamin Daly.
Yes.
Well, it's a bit late for us to be doing anything about anything tonight.
I know, but I can hear it, and it keeps getting louder every night, and no one will believe me. Nobody. I don't know where else to go. I don't know what else to do. And I heard that you deal with weird things like that.
Please come in, and I will show him to the front parlor, just off the main entrance.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Sorry to call on you quite so late. But...
Please have a seat. Let me see if we can have some tea. Just a moment.
Yeah.
I am going to go towards the kitchens first and then use the servants' stairs to go up and around. And I believe Franco was spending the night.
Yeah, I was spending the night. I'm already in bed.
I am going to knock on Franco's door.
There's no response.
I'm going to knock again.
Nothing. Clearly he's fast asleep.
I am going to knock louder, and I'm going to call his name.
No response comes. You hear a voice calling up from downstairs. Is everything all right up there?
Yes, just attempting to wake one of the members. The tea will be ready for you momentarily.
I'm sure there's no need to disturb any of the others. It's you I came here to see, Maddie. We don't need to worry the others for now. Come back downstairs. We can talk.
Let me just fetch the tea then. I'm looking for anybody, any of the servants or anyone.
There's nobody else there.
I will fetch the tea. And I'm going to slip a knife into my pocket. And take the tea out to the parlor where I had left the gentleman.
Excellent. You are very easily spooked. But I suppose that makes sense, seeing as all you've seen and all you've been through.
I'm sorry, who were you again?
Call me Benjamin. As good a name as any.
Was it Mr. Daly?
Mr. Daly? Yeah, that suits as well.
Oh, how do you like your tea? Would you like any sugar or cream?
Oh, 1 sugar, no milk. Thank you.
I will pour tea. You
Thank
said
you.
something about a monster in your basement.
We don't need to worry about that. I was just interested to see. You really are trying to help others, aren't you? At
Of
least
course.
That's what you tell everyone. Really. You and I both know what this is really about. The reason you keep reading, even when you know what you're going to find, even when you know how dangerous it is for you, for everyone else. You want to know things. You want to understand. You want that knowledge, and more than that, you want the power. Tell me I'm wrong. Go on.
The knowledge is quite entertaining of any sort. But I'm not sure what you're saying.
I'm saying you haven't hesitated. Most people hesitate when they learn that they can twist the minds of others, if they can speak words and summon gods. They draw back. They hide from that knowledge. But not you, Maddie. You're willing to use it. You've swayed the minds of others. You called upon Azasoth himself of your own free will. No one made you.
I'm sorry. I invited you in to discuss the beast that's in your basement.
Yes, the beast in the basement. The monster lurking beneath.
What information do you have of it?
Well, let's say it's killed people. Quite a lot of people by now.
But it hasn't killed you.
Not yet, no. But it started off with people that hurt it, people that were a threat. It went after those that had power of their own and those that had harmed it and harmed those that it cared about. But then things got a little bit out of control. It started slipping outside of its bonds and brought death to those that crossed its path.
Sounds like you know more about this beast than most others. What can you tell me of it?
It burnt people. A house out in West London. Strangers it passed in the street. Called down the fire of the gods. Or simply the fire of a gas explosion. The question is, what should be done about it? What do you do with that kind of monster, Maddie?
Send it away, usually, in whatever form needs to be taken.
But what if it also has a use? What if the monster could do good? What if it could help people? Turn its power to good. Make change in this world. What then?
Maddie is going to take a hearty sip of her tea. It depends entirely on situations. But usually things of that sort need to be left alone or put elsewhere. Taken away from the public.
Maybe. What if there was a way of giving the monster, giving it back under control, regaining its humanity, its wits and its purpose?
Are you saying
before
that
it
this
slips over the edge?
Are you saying this beast once was human?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Well, then in that case, it would be best to find a way to return it to his original form.
Mm. Nothing's ever that simple. If that could be done, it would surely come at a price. Nothing's free in this world, Maddie.
Of course not.
No.
I'm sorry. Why are you here again?
Oh,
Are we just? Are you asking for assistance in removing the monster from your building?
No, I'm offering assistance in taming the monster, in granting the monster her control back.
I'm not quite sure I understand.
Oh, Maddie. I'm saying I can help you before you lose control entirely, burn this place to the ground, and end up killing everyone you care about.
I've not killed anyone I've cared about.
Not yet. Not yet. Sanity is such a fragile thing, and your mind is so close to chaos. I can help you find a way back.
Who are you?
As I said, you can call me Benjamin if you like. It works as a name.
I'm
got a
assuming
lot
this
of
is not your
names.
real name. What is your real name?
I don't have a real name. A name is simply what people call you, and people have called me so many things. But if you... You're so hung up on the name thing, aren't you? You think that you give
It's
something a
not.
name, you can pen it in, look it up, write it down, make sense of it.
Usually it is the case.
Okay. A name. Call me the pharaoh. That works.
The pharaoh? The pharaoh of what?
Just the pharaoh. But yeah. We have all the time in the world, Maddie. Well, I do, you don't. So I'll see you again soon. I'll leave you to mull things over for a while. Come to a bit of a decision. Sleep tight. I'll be
Good
watching.
evening.
And with that, you awake, Maddie, as the knitting slips from your hand, land on the floor beside the chair. And you realise you must have drifted off to sleep in the warmth of the fire. And I would now like you to subtract those 5 sanity points you lost earlier in reading that book and the study.
Lovely. All right. So that brings me down to 7.
Yep, it does.
Okay.
Back under 10.
Yay.
It's been a while. Tonight, Franco and Mortimer, you get a decent night's sleep. I'm not going to ask for any rolls off you tonight.
Okay.
And unless anyone has anything they would like to do that evening, we'll move on forward to the next day. Franco, you get a lovely night's sleep in the comfortable bedroom at the Esoteric Society. Mortimer, a decent night's sleep in your own home, and, well, I'll leave it to Maddie to judge the quality of her night's sleep.
Probably not good.
And morning comes around. James has set out breakfast in the morning room for those of you staying at the society, and it's up to you, Mortimer, what time you want to head over, or if you've got other business to attend to that morning.
I'll just grab breakfast and then I'll make my way over.
Franco and Maddie, are you taking breakfast together?
Sure.
Yes.
I completely forgot how comfortable your beds are. I slept like a baby.
Maddie is all yawns, and she does have bags under her eyes. Though it seems she's got a little bit of powder trying to hide it. Yes, the beds can be comfortable most nights.
Frank was sitting there thinking, "Oh boy, that was inconsiderate," and then thinking, "Okay, pointing out that was inconsiderate would be also inconsiderate because she's trying to hide it," and just like sitting there for like a moment, trying to think about how to keep going, and then just compliments the food.
Yes, it is quite delicious. How's your report doing? Your article? Sorry, your article.
Yeah, my article's done. I had some time yesterday, and it's finished. I'll just have to if there's a moment where we don't have a lot to do, I'll just bring it over. It's I might be leaning a bit heavy on the person from the British Museum calling all of this into question, but you know, he did indeed say that, so I'm not lying. I'm not embellishing anything. It's gonna be fine.
I look forward to reading it.
Thank you. I did my best. So, do we have any plans for today?
Yes. We have Dr. Davenport and I have decided that we need to speak with Mr. Howard Phillips, who is an archaeologist that goes on digs in Egypt, to see if we can find out anything more about the Red Pyramid.
I see. Well, the only thing that I'm aware of is that it's just like a pyramid like any other, isn't it? Like, moved to that stone? I think I've read something like that.
It's probably made of redstone, but Dr. Davenport's notes from yesterday said that it had something to do with the Black Pharaoh, and we needed to find out more information on that.
Well, I think we'll find it out in the end, right? About that pharaoh. So, well, let's wait for Mr. Davenport. It's just, you know, on one hand, I'm like curious again, and glad that we're, working back together. On the other hand, things tend to get quite scary.
Yes, quite scary. It's entirely frightening at points.
Yes, it is.
Miss Davenport, the others are just finishing up breakfast in the drawing room.
Thank you, James.
Take any of your coats and bags. I'll get some more tea brought up right away.
What a lovely morning already.
Yeah, this looks like it's going to be a lovely day. Really nice weather.
Perhaps a wander in the park.
Very good, sir. Anyway, I'll get that tea coming.
And I'll wander through to see the other two. I do have a question, O'Keeper, about something, which may be a bit strange, but when I sort of picked up that silver necklace, the one that may or may not have belonged to Nitocris, it was on a body, wasn't it?
Yes, it was on a dead body lying on an altar.
How old did that body look? Did it look sort of mummified old, or just...
It didn't look mummified. It definitely wasn't fresh, but it looked more like something that had come off Mortician's slab, or had been dead a few days rather than...
That's okay. I was just checking I hadn't actually
Ancient.
ripped Nitocris's necklace off her corpse.
No, it looked a much newer body.
It looks fresher than an ancient body, basically. But yes, that's okay. Just a concern I had that she might have taken it personally. Good morning. How is everyone today?
I'm not quite sure.
That's an unusual answer. But
Keeper, do I actually remember the dream or no?
Oh, most certainly. It's unusually clear for a dream in your mind. You remember it clearly.
I'm just wondering about what we should do regards this artist. Because I got the impression he was being held captive. But
Yeah.
it depends on what sort of deal he's struck with and with who. Because those are very unusual paintings. A normal artist wouldn't be able to paint those. So unless he struck a deal with someone to be able to paint those sort of pictures, or had some sort of talent. But it does seem as if he's been held captive by this serpent person, but what purpose would they have other than perhaps... I think you mentioned something these serpent people want to bring about the downfall of people and to take over again?
At least to run everything. To be in power again.
Perhaps these paintings are to perhaps start something along those lines? Perhaps weaken people's minds or wills? I don't know.
That I wouldn't be surprised of.
Especially if you put one of those paintings in a public place where loads of people would see it, like an art gallery.
That sounds quite scary.
That makes me concerned for Mr. McCrashley.
He bought a painting.
And in another day and a half, I will be.
But having said that, at least buying the paintings takes them, well, out of the way of anyone else seeing them.
That's true. Sure hope Mr. McCrashley didn't display it in his house and was, I mean, he bought it because he, remembered that situation that was depicted. So I don't think that he's gonna be, prominently displaying it. I do think he's got enough experience with
strange items.
Yes. Strangeness in general. To not be so. Yeah. Foolhardy.
I'm curious because there are a lot of references to, I believe Nitocris's body. I'm just wondering if somehow someone's dug up more items associated with her, and perhaps even her remains, and whether that's been brought back to London somehow.
It's possible. I mean, we do need to speak with Mr. Phillips about the archaeological digs that he's been on recently.
And if it wasn't him, he might have an idea who was digging in that area. Keeper, I'm just assuming I know that Archie Gray didn't have any links, associations with Egypt that I know of.
Not that you know of.
Not that I know of.
I mean,
I wouldn't know anything
actually,
secretive. I just know as a.
Yeah, I mean, you know that he had some interest in importing a couple of items from Egypt, because your sister said, amongst other things, the necklace he asked her to import. And that came from
Amongst
Egypt.
other things.
So whether there was any other imports or items, don't know. But that is the strongest link to Egypt, specifically. Although, as with many people in sort of his layer of society, he had a passing interest in Egypt. It's very fashionable at the moment.
Very true.
But he never expressed any particularly huge interest, no.
No. Okay. That's that one. Miss Carter, I should sort of mention how I've managed to get a book associated with the Black Pharaoh, I suspect. When we visited a farm, it was a matter with, I believe Franco's brother had vanished. We went to investigate, and basically we rescued him from a cell beneath a farmhouse, a hidden stairway, and an unusual armored black serpent as well. But we have
Who owns the farm?
I've got a feeling it would be. I didn't actually look into it, but I suspect Earl Grey may have been mentioned by the people who garden. No, not by the people who garden it. Sorry, by a gentleman who interrupted us when we were making it less. How could I put it?
Inhabitable.
Yes, and less useful for them. A lord, I believe his initials may have been JW, according to a handkerchief he had on his person at the time. And he mentioned something about Earl Grey, so I suspect the farm and the property may have been owned by him. But whilst we were searching it, we found, for example, a cupboard which contained a large number of ritualist type cloaks, capes, hooded capes, I believe, or robes, and masks. Like, they were pretty much featureless, I believe. They were like just plain white masks, like paper mache type things. We've made that part of that place uninhabitable. We pretty much collapsed the stairwell, and I'm not entirely sure what the gentleman who was helping us did, but he seemed to have turned the place into a rockery through his skills, we'll say. But there was also a cupboard containing human organs in jars, a large number of them. I had those sent to Dr. Peterson to have a look at, because he seems to have an interest in that sort of thing, and I haven't had an opportunity to speak to him to see if he found anything about those, but besides those, I found an unusual book. I immediately just put it in my pocket at the time. Well, we actually found an almanac which had a great deal of information about stars, which is how we knew some strange ritual was going to be done by them on the property to do the altar and the Black Pharaoh, which is why we planned to collapse the place before they could do the ritual. But there was another book. It was bound in human skin. It seemed to have been freshly bound. The skin hadn't been cured properly either. It was rather unpleasant, to say the least. I had actually decided it would be best to rebind it in something more fitting of a book, and I have done so. I believe the book was called, I shall just have a check. I believe I wrote it down. Cults de Ghouls, something along those lines. Cults de Ghouls. I have not had an opportunity to read it yet, but at a later date we may be able to use it to find further information, perhaps on the Black Pharaoh. But
is that in English?
No, I believe it's in French,
Oh, I can read and speak French.
as can I, but whether it's a good it's a good idea to read that at the moment. That's why I've put it off at the moment. I've been studying the earlier book, and well, I say the earlier book. I've got another book. I believe it's their Fermi Mysteries or something along those lines. Originally in Latin, but I have translated it since. I've been studying that, so I have not had the opportunity to study this one. But I believe all this was tied with the Black Pharaoh and Earl Grey, as it turned out. But,
Well,
are you first?
So, was it yesterday? I believe it was yesterday, before we went to Mr. Shipley's house. I was doing a little bit of research, and it mentioned the book called The Ghouls. And
extremely
that,
rare.
yes, there was, I can't remember what it was, but there was something about it, something important.
I believe the church tried to have every copy of it destroyed.
Yes.
I cannot remember. I believe there may have been 13 copies made, or perhaps a dozen copies at some point, but I think all of them were believed to have been destroyed. But somehow there was one in this property, so I thought it best to remove it.
I have a feeling that it is linked with the Black Pharaoh. I just don't... Oh, excuse me. I just don't know for sure.
It's very
Sorry,
likely to start reading it in the near future.
Sorry, I was visited last night.
You what?
Mm-hmm. I tried to wake you. No, it was a dream. I was visited by a gentleman who tried to have me call him Benjamin Daly, but it wasn't his real name, and he told me to then, after a while, call him the Pharaoh.
Can't be a coincidence.
And he wanted to help me with something.
I'm gonna write the name Benjamin Daly down.
I'm curious whether that name relates to a real person.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
He might have given you a hint.
He originally said that he needed help with a monster in his basement. So I invited him in for some tea and to go over what he needed from us. And then instead of talking about that, he went on to say something about a monster that could be used for good or ill, and he wanted to help me get my power under control, I think. Not sure. I was very confused. Still not entirely clear, but...
So...
Do you believe you need help keeping your power under control?
Oh, I'm not sure.
Or was he so in doubt?
Possible?
I
don't know. But he did say that nothing comes for free.
Yeah. He was offering a deal.
I mean, it's not like you're the only one that has burnt down a house or something.
So it seems he was offering you perhaps a pact, either to... He claims it's to give you... Did he say you greater control over your abilities?
Sanity.
Or
Sanity.
someone else a control over it?
Keeper, clarification, please. Did he say me, or did he not clarify who to control it?
That is for you to determine. He was vague about the details.
What I'm worried is if he said that there's like a monster that he's in his basement, right? And am I understanding correctly that he insinuated that you are the monster in his basement?
I suspect he basically needed to be invited in.
Oh,
and it was a trick to be invited in, more than likely.
Like vampires?
Stories. It could be where the stories come from.
I mean, because I was just worried.
An eye on me.
Okay.
So, no, I'm very concerned.
What concerns me is that we are in his basement, metaphorically speaking. If he's not lying, I mean, he might just be lying so he can get in. But
it depends on what he sees, whether he sees what is his house. Does he see London as his house?
The entire world.
Exactly. It depends on definitions, but I suspect he's been deliberately vague and elusive.
I mean, if the entire world is his basement, London's more like the toilet.
But you have been very careful, Miss Carter, with your abilities. So I believe it might not be necessary to accept any deal from him. The cost may be too high. The deal he struck with, if it is the Black Pharaoh, which I'm working on that assumption, he offered Nephron Carr. Perhaps he offered him greater control over his abilities, but the cost was 1,000 lives or 1,000 souls.
Well, he said that I was going to harm the people I cared about.
I mean, you didn't yet.
He implied that I will be doing it soon.
Perhaps his implying it is to lead you on that course. Him just saying that maybe, but then again, we just need to be more careful.
Mm-hmm.
Who understands these things? It's much like superstitions and stories relating to prophecies.
Mm-hmm.
If you tell someone the prophecy, sometimes it makes it self-fulfilling. But if the person hadn't told you the prophecy, would the same thing have happened in the first place? Perhaps he believes by telling you what he did, he will lead you on the path he wants you to go. But
well, he says he's watching me, so I don't know if he's watching me in my sleep or right now. Actually, I'm a little concerned about that. I am going to get up and close the curtains.
it may be worth looking into a way to protect this property against intrusions from entities. May have to do some research into that. Perhaps some sort of protections, who knows? It seems to be necessary.
We can call up the church. But it does seem that that might not be strong enough.
just more research again,
Yes,
and
indeed.
more reading.
I'll try to find that Benjamin Daly person. Might just be a normal person, might not exist, might be a clue.
One possibility, one idea we could look into. By the sound of it, trying to think how it ended with Nitocris, how her end happened. Was there some sort of rebellion or something along those lines?
That's what Dr. Morris said yesterday. She was overthrown and then entombed alive.
In which case, there may be information from the people who attacked her and her entities or her creatures, and how to protect yourself or your properties against her and possibly the Black Pharaoh if her powers came from said creature. So historically, we might be able to find some information on what protections they used in their myths and their stories to deal with it. I might be able to replicate them here. But we might find out some more information today from the experts, hopefully. Well,
Hopefully.
we're not seeing the experts, we're seeing a gentleman who was digging effectively in Egypt.
Yes, Mr. Phillips.
But we do
Mr.
have
Howard Phillips.
We do have some books to look in when we get a chance, so we may find something there.
Okay, so is the plan that you're all going to go and try and see Mr. Howard Phillips together?
Why not?
Okay, so yeah, you were given his address over this staying in a rather fancy location at the Savoy Hotel, which Maddie, I believe you have visited before, because this was the favourite haunt of Zachary Carnegie. Back when you and Irene had your brief encounter with him and his specific brand of insanity. Yeah, are you calling ahead or are you arriving unannounced?
We'll send a letter.
And calling ahead, contacting in advance is the right thing to do in London society.
I don't believe phones were...
Phones were, but not a great deal. You'd have them between wealthy properties, perhaps, but...
Yeah, I mean, the hotel would have a phone. I don't know if the society... I don't know if the society has had a phone installed yet.
Unless Irene took care of that while Maddie was gone. Probably not.
No. I don't know, Mortimer's shop's got one.
Yeah, I mean, it would be perfectly reasonable. And the telephone has been around for a little while. Where are we at? 87. So by now you've got switchboards and exchanges starting to spring up. So yeah, if you want to have a phone installed, I believe you can at this point, but that's up
We'll
to you.
We'll deal with that later.
So yeah, I think they've already had an international telephone call by this point.
Awesome.
History's been made. But
Technology goes so fast.
Yeah. So you can send a note ahead or call ahead, the choice is yours.
Maddie's going to send a note, but if Dr. Davenport is going to call, that's fine.
To be fair, I trust with just the letter.
Yeah, he well, it's kind of are you waiting for a response or just calling ahead and then turning up? I think this will be here all day. But
yeah, we'll send ahead and then we'll just show up. We'll stay an hour after the note's received.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Phillips is just in the I think of the correct word for the room. Lounge? Hotel lounge. He's taking tea with a friend. Are you expected or?
We sent ahead earlier.
Yes.
he
He said
aware.
just to send you through, let you join him. Come this way, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
And he shows you over to a table where there are two gentlemen sat with, there's a newspaper sort of van on the table, and the older of the two gentlemen is loudly telling a tale of daring do and the time that, a camel fell down a ravine, and then there was a sandstorm, and he had to, with his bare hands, haul someone out of this ravine with a rope, and it's all very daring do. And the other man, who looks to be probably in his early 20s, very sort of new university graduate, very neat and trim, wide eyes, eating all this up with wow, this is amazing. This man is my hero. This is a true adventure come to life. As the older man, Mr. Phillips, waves you over. Take a seat. Any friend of the Morrises is a friend of mine.
Well, I am actually an acquaintance of your cousin as well.
How's he doing these days?
He's... I haven't had the opportunity to work with him recently, but I believe, is well.
Still scrambling through the old manuscripts? Yeah.
Probably.
Not all of us can be quite adventurous. Some people just love a good library. Come, take a seat. I don't think you've met, Neville. These are friends of the Morrises. Miss Martha Carter. Is that correct?
Yes.
She's Sir John Wallace's grandniece, I believe. Terrible loss to the historian community. And you must be Dr. Davenport.
Pleasure to meet you.
I think. Which makes you...
Franco Bernice.
Franco Bernice, sorry.
Oh, no worries.
The Morrises did say who was coming, but they said they gave two names and were very vague about the rest. This is Neville Lloyd Price. Just finished his last term at Oxford.
Pleasure to meet you.
His historian. He's interested in coming out on my next trip out to Egypt. Wants to get properly down and dirty with the real work and all this just cataloguing and archiving.
The real work, not the turning pages.
Exactly. You know, I see it. You know, anyone could do that. Well, getting out there and trowels in the sand.
We had heard that you've been doing some exciting digs in Egypt.
Yeah, is it too early for port? Yeah, it's too early for port, probably. More tea and some of those little cakes. Just got back.
Curious about your digs and the areas you've been digging, because if you're the first to dig in that area, you must have some fantastic finds.
Well, you know, it's a rat race out there. You try and stick your claim, keep your patch, and hope that you've struck lucky and you've got something decent. And
do you have a patch that you're digging at the moment or planning to?
Had one this season. Hopefully, I've got one of interest in next season. I'm hoping to get back up to Cairo and Giza next year. That's where all the good stuff is. That's what they say. That's where it's all kicking off.
I mean, if everybody's in Cairo, doesn't that mean everything near Cairo is already gone?
Well, yeah, but I'm convinced there's a fair bit more to find there. And you want a really good find, like a proper tomb, none of this. I mean, an obelisk is great, but we've got enough obelisks at this point. So many they're shipping them out to London, sticking them up by the Thames. We don't really need any more obelisks. I want
pharaoh like mummies and things like that. Have you found anything along those?
not yet. That's the white whale. That's the dream. That's the finding the lost pharaohs team.
Unwrapping and stuff like public, they do it like an unwrapping thing of some mummies sometimes, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, I found a few. Not found any pharaohs yet. A few high-ranking priests and nobles, and some interesting tomb sites.
I'm curious from a medical viewpoint on how they prepared the bodies and that side of thing. It seems rather strange, but
I mean, it's downright amazing. This fact that there's anything left to find after so long, and all these.
Well, the preservation too. It's amazing at how old some of those mummies are, and they're still so well preserved.
Exactly. I mean, the desert does wonders for it, and you've been out there. You see how hot and dry everything is, and how incredible sight, an incredible place. I wasn't up at Giza this year. I was just a little bit down the river, south of Memphis.
Storyteller, is that the same area I was told about?
Sure, yes.
Yeah. That's did you find anything interesting in that area?
Some old signs of some temple complexes. You trace settlements. Essentially, some extension of there's a few pyramids down there. And,
I did not realize
wherever there's pyramids, there's more stuff around it. There always is.
I did not have any idea that they had pyramids in that part of Egypt.
I mean, it's not that far south. It's only a bit past of Memphis. And when I say pyramids, there's a couple of them, and well, I think they're earlier than the Giza ones. But I'm not exactly the expert on all that.
Would you say something like the 6th dynasty, perhaps, or the 3rd?
I'd have to check it in a
your
book.
interest.
I'm not a historian, really. That's what I have chaps like young Neville here for.
You're more interested in the adventure.
It's
and being the first.
You've always got to be the first. No one ever made history by being the second to do something.
Exactly. Was there anyone else digging in that area that you were? Or do the archaeologists or the people digging in Egypt tend to choose their own little areas and work alone, or?
It's the whole system with commissions and land and its bureaucracy. There were a couple of other people, but I was the only one that was digging near the Bent Pyramid this year.
Which pyramid?
The Bent Pyramid. There's a few pyramids. There's the Red Pyramid, and then there's a couple of smaller ones.
Were you able to find anything in the Bent? Well, you weren't in the Bent. You were near it.
It's got a chamber in it. The Bent Pyramid, but whatever was in there has been emptied out long ago.
You mentioned the Red Pyramid, was that as well?
The Red Pyramid.
I've not actually heard of that one. That's a new one to me. I've been doing a little bit of research on Egypt, and they couldn't find anything that mentioned a Red Pyramid. It seems a bit strange. Was there anyone digging in that area?
I mean, that's not the official name of it. It's got some proper name, but it's red and it's a pyramid, so I call it the Red Pyramid. I mean,
if you say that, everyone knows exactly which one you mean.
That wasn't really my one of particularly interest this year, but it's what was it the chap was saying? Oh, Morris was saying apparently it's the oldest, as far as they know, one of the oldest proper pyramids, when they kind of worked out how to do it properly, fixed it all up back in the start of the 4th dynasty. That was when he said 4th. First pharaoh of the 4th. First of the 4th. So I remembered it.
Then everyone else copied.
Yeah, that's what they say, but yeah, I think. Take it with a pinch of salt.
What did you do with any of the finds? I'm assuming they would have gone to the museum or any interested buyers. Perhaps some of the nobles. Would any of the lords or earls or anyone like that be interested in that sort of thing?
Well, sometimes stuff gets snapped up by the museums, but actually this time most of what I've some Egyptian fellow Arab guy bought up most of it for a fair decent price. So
You made some money out of
British
it.
Museum didn't get a look in.
Ooh, do you know the name of this gentleman? I'm curious because I would love to see this collection if he would allow me to.
If he has to take a trip out to Cairo, El Shakti.
Oh.
Yeah.
So not over here then.
No. He's out there. But nothing. I mean, I guess if you're interested in understanding the carvings and stuff, probably interesting, but nothing. Anything worth anything to the layperson was looted long ago.
Do you maybe have any rubbings or copies of the carvings?
The historian was with me. Had some. I can send them. I'll send them over to you. What's your address?
I'll give him the address of our Grosvenor Square.
Yeah, I'll get them sent over to you at some point. I'll have to... Yeah, but the last historian I took out, he won't come back again apparently. Yeah, a combination of sunstroke, heat stroke, bitten by a cobra.
Oh,
Weird stuff. But Neville here. I'm hoping Neville here will do great things. Isn't that right?
and I'm going to look at Neville.
That's what I'm hoping. Get out there and do some proper history.
How much truth was in what the guy just said about his people just having bad luck?
Make me a psychology check. I always said insight. I've been playing too much D&D recently.
That's a good roll.
I mean that the young one is excited to get going is quite obvious, but
you don't know what, but there was almost for a moment a hint of uncertainty beneath the brash demeanor. There's something else he's not saying, but what it is you don't know.
Okay. So, well, good luck in Egypt then, right? You'll need everything you can to get the big scoop.
Yeah. I'll send you those rubbings. Anything else any other historical document? I've got some photographs.
Yeah,
always.
let's look. If you have them with you.
All right, yeah. So this is the red pyramid. That one's the bent pyramid. You can see here, that's me on a camel. That's me. I just killed a snake with a spade. Those chaps there. That's it starts to deviate from history into essentially Victorian holiday photographs, which are a less candid than a selfie. You've got to stand there for a bit posing to get the exposure right on some of these.
Are there any pictures of him with any of the carvings?
No.
Darn.
There's pictures of him standing next to a rather distressed, miserable-looking academic. It's like a bandaged leg. Who does not look pleased to be there.
Franco, you could probably write an interesting article about these digs, couldn't you?
I mean, surely our readers are gonna love that.
Certainly fashionable at the moment.
It is indeed. So, and I would just start jotting down notes about all the, adventures he's gonna, he claims to have had. And just, have like a rough sketch of the of his trips to this day. And just,
if you're writing an article, I'd love to talk to you. Like, I've got so
100%.
many stories. I think this would make a brilliant, recurring piece in the paper, don't you think?
Oh, sure. I'm not sure.
You'd read that. Tell me you'd read that, all right? You'd read that.
Yes, quite.
I mean, look, the last word is still at my publishers, obviously, but, if I have, a good first piece to put in front of them, that might, help getting stuff like that done, and also might not hurt my career.
Oh, you know what would be a great story? Have you had anything come across about the pharaoh's curses? Dr. Morris doesn't believe in them, but
Doctor, between you and me, young lady, Dr. Morris can be a bit close-minded at times. Bit of a stick in the mud. Now, the curse. Well, I am gonna say, we had an awful run of bad luck on that dig. Since we got near that place, as I said, poor Dr. Braithwaite, the cobras, the heat stroke, everything else. We lost a good deal of the workers. They left in the night and never came back. I myself was fine, of course, but a lot of other people getting ill. And one chap who was working with me ran off into the desert one night screaming about jackal people coming to eat his baby or something. It was, so
has any of it followed anyone back?
Well, not yet. Hopefully, the curse stays out in the sands. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. There's real danger out there. You're risking yourself. You have to be strong-minded. You have to not let the power of the place overpower you. I'm not sure it's a curse, but there is something out there in the sands. Sometimes when you're walking from the camp at night, you can feel it almost, like the weight of the ages past. Not the boring stone stuff that the historians talk about, but the real sense of something that happened long ago, and you always feel anyway, nonsense really, but sometimes you feel like there's someone still there watching you.
Maybe there is.
See, that's the good story, isn't it? Maybe there is.
I mean, it's not a story that I could publish with the publisher that I am currently with, but I certainly know people. I certainly know people that would enjoy printing a story like that.
I've been working on my memoirs, but I could, if you're ever short of a job, I could do with a writer to just help me, get things in order, get things into place.
Oh,
I've got a lot of material there. A lot of material.
Oh, I mean, why not?
In this case, which pharaoh do you think cursed your expedition?
Oh, it's the chap who built those. Was Sneferu? Starafu? That's what Braithwaite was always going on about. So him probably?
Is he here in London?
What? Sneferu?
Your historian?
I really hope not.
No, you're historian.
No, Braithwaite, poor chap, after everything that happened out there, he's taking a trip, he's gone to Baden-Baden, take the waters, get some fresh air and all that.
I see. Taking care of the mind is important, especially when dealing with curses, right?
Yeah, well, curses, or cobra bites, also, yeah.
I mean, but the cobra bite is the boring answer.
Yes.
This has all been fascinating, and we have taken up quite a bit of your morning already. So, I'm not sure.
I've got another appointment I should be heading to.
It'd be rude of us to take up so much of your time, especially with your new assistant here.
Well, yeah, Neville's got a few things to finish up in London, and then a couple of months we're heading back out to the dig. Giza this time, hopefully Giza. But it was lovely to meet you all. Excellent to meet you all. But we must be going.
Thank you for the lovely stories.
And we'll converse about your memoirs.
Good,
I think I'll find time for that.
Yeah, and he and Neville head off. You're welcome to linger a little longer and take a bit of tea in the Savoy if you wish.
Like a moment, maybe. To converse about what we just had.
Unless we want to discuss it on the way.
Probably better, right?
Are there many people around here, Keeper? I'm guessing not. Oh, there are.
Yeah, there's people around drinking
It's a
tea at
hotel.
other tables, reading the newspaper.
But no one
Um,
close enough to risk overhearing us.
Did Howard leave
Possibly,
the
yes,
paper
if
on
they're
the
listening,
table?
yeah. Pardon?
Did Howard leave the paper on the table?
Yes, yeah.
Was it open to any particular page?
It was open to the sports pages. But definitely other people could have overheard Howard talking. If they'd overhear someone talking at a more reasonable volume. Hard to say. Depends how nosy they are.
Well, maybe let's just leave, right? The prices are steep anyway.
I will stand and ready myself to leave.
As Maddie stands, I'll also stand to make my way to leave as Maddie does.
Indeed.
Perhaps we should make our way back and perhaps do some more reading, or it'd give us an opportunity to talk about what we have found out.
First pharaoh of the 4th dynasty.
So do you know about that guy that that Mr. Howard was referring to?
In relation to curse, you mean?
I mean,
Keeper,
Sneferu.
would I know anything about Sneferu?
Make me a history, Egyptology, or other Egypt-related skill roll.
I think I've got the perfect one. Ah, darn.
It's not. You've got some vague scraps of memory, but you know, with what Phillips had been saying, you're starting to recognize it a little connected with sort of some early pyramid building, sort of during the old kingdom of Egypt.
Okay.
But other than the fact that he was involved in early pyramid building, not much else.
Pharaoh, all I can recall is that he was part of the earlier pyramid buildings. I don't know, maybe the design, or maybe even just the idea of it. I'm not sure.
I see. Well, that might be. He's not one connected to any of our particular brand of curious, right? So I guess that's fine then.
But by the sound of it, no one was digging in the area of the Red Pyramid, but somewhere nearby. Well, another pyramid nearby.
He was saying that there were workers running into the desert, talking about jackal people, which is, I mean, so one knows that it's basically not able to be overlooked anymore.
Yes, the pamphlet I think I had, I believe it might have been Cresswell, may have been the person who wrote the pamphlet. He mentioned stories and superstitions about jackal-headed type people in the desert.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't actually know how a jackal looks like, so...
If you had an opportunity to look at the Red Pyramid picture, those were amongst the strange figures in it.
I haven't actually, and
it's probably best you don't, to be fair. But it was a very strange meeting. But there were a number of jackal-headed creatures eating. Oh, I'm assuming, I can't remember now, from maybe entrails or anything. But it was a very disturbing painting.
Understand.
But what I'm concerned about as well is at least one item related to Nitocris has made its way into London. This gentleman here was Mr. Phillips. He was under the impression there hadn't been digging going on around the...
Recording in progress.
Sorry, I always hit that button by accident.
Recording stopped.
See, that wasn't much digging going on around the Red Pyramid, but I'm certain at least one item related to Nitocris made its way into London. So I may have to speak to someone to find out if more items made their way into London from the same source.
Oh boy. Sorry, I'm so tired.
I mean, you seem to have not sleeping very well this night, so I think that's excusable.
Perhaps you'll get a better sleep tonight.
Maybe just don't open the door.
Lie down soon.
But we still have the problem with the Serpent people.
True.
Mm-hmm.
By the sound of it, I don't think it's going to be a problem that's easily solved.
They might be connected.
Yes, indeed.
We could buy the paintings and make sure no one else sees them.
Yeah. I think I should go and ask Augustus if he can, get a look on that opium den. And
You
you
might
know,
know-
if there's any shady shit going on. So
Perhaps Morgan will know some people. He tends to be,
yeah,
he's a private investigator, so perhaps he has an idea on opium dens, and perhaps, I think it was mention of smuggling, so perhaps he might have an idea of some that was suspected to be involved with smuggling. You never know.
indeed. I'm not sure how to help the young man that's painting the pictures without, you know, going the way we solve them usually, which means burning the house down or shooting, whatever it is.
Yeah, I don't believe shooting guns in London would be a good idea. It would draw a fair bit of attention.
Not in a pitch black house.
Yeah, makes aiming a bit hard.
You mentioned you saw someone leaving the property.
Exactly. And that person went to that opium den that I want Augustus to take a look at.
But this wasn't the old lady we saw.
Neither. There's none of the people, though we know.
But
if I've listened correctly, once you were explaining this, Maddie, they can change the way they look, can't they? So it might just be her, but you know, with a different face.
Perhaps we could get into the property next time that person leaves. And again, it could have been because...
or there could very well be more than one person in there.
Yeah, though it didn't see this person enter. So they might just have been in a place where we weren't, you know. A bit
very true.
possible.
It was a small property, though. It was a very small property.
Yeah.
Perhaps when Miss Carter, you are making the next purchase, we.
I don't want to go alone.
No. I was thinking more along the lines we are a bit more. How to put it? Aware of our surroundings, perhaps inquire a bit with the lady about anyone else who visits there, perhaps the father, whether he's around, see if we can find any information indirectly of who else might be in the property without actually asking the same question. I suspect because we spent some money, that money was what was taken perhaps to the opium den. So chances are, once we spend some money there and leave, perhaps this snake person changes their form and deposits the money at this opium den. It could be a front for snake people, perhaps.
I mean, there was definitely opium going on in there because...
Well, they need a way to earn money regardless. But so... Remember, I had offered to have him and his mother come to Grosvenor Square about commissioning a piece. Perhaps while I am speaking with them there, someone might be able to take a look while they're occupied.
Oh, that's certainly possible. I sure hope that I don't find too disturbing stuff in there. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine.
Don't go alone.
If I don't go alone, people are gonna be loud.
Perhaps Mr. McCrashley can go with you when he is available.
I mean, potentially. He can at least shoot the things that he, you know, gets up on our, yeah. It's fine. It'll be fine. There's no need to worry. I'm just gonna go in, be unseen, and get out. It worked fine at the Vanes estate. It should also work fine now.
There might be another way without shooting, but we'll have to see what options Mr. McCrashley could bring.
Yeah.
So, it sounds like you've got a bit of a plan here, at least somewhat, that Franco's going to be doing some Francoing. And others of you have got some research on the go. And I think this is probably a good point to leave things off, and we'll see what Mr. McCrashley and any other society members might have to contribute towards this case next week.